privatization and commercialization in Nigeria. We will study the introduction, the objectives, main content, the problems of privatization and commercialization in conclusion, summary, tutor matter assessment, references to further readings. Introduction. If you recall in our previous discussion on privatization and commercialization, we observed that both of them were embarked upon by the government with the aim of achieving efficiency in managing public enterprises. So what actually drives both concepts is motivation. Efficiency was the driving force of both concepts. But along the line, there are problems associated with achieving these lofty goals. So this unit will look at these problems of privatization and commercialization. At the end of the unit, we should be able to discuss the problems privatization and commercialization programs are confronted with and analyze some possible solutions to the problems of these two concepts or these two programs. Problems of privatization and commercialization. A scholar, Madu Abum, examined some major problems that have bedeviled the two programs in the two programs operation in our country Nigeria, and the problems are discussed below. One of the problems is political will and degree of commitment. This was the first problem that confronted the program of privatization and commercialization, with political will on the part of a government to see the exercise through. They don't have that strong will to see the program succeed, and as a result, their level of commitment to its implementation was very low. And this was the reason why fewer public enterprises were privatized or commercialized between 1988 and 1992. Another reason is inadequate planning. The pace of the exercise of this program was affected by unforeseen problems, which adequate planning ought to have envisaged if they had planned before getting involved. You have to do what we call a study, carry out a plan. Plan is the bedrock of anything one is doing. If you want to succeed in any of your endeavors, you have to carry out a good planning. But there was planning, but it was quite inadequate. And this inadequate planning, because they could not see problem, that is, they could not foresee future problems. If they had anticipated these problems, they would have devised means of solving these problems in the process while they were in the process of planning. But because of the inadequate planning, they did not anticipate some of the problems. There were some unforeseen problems that were not anticipated, which actually affected the program. And this necessitated the law governing the policy and the modus operandi of the exercise again and again. The third one is the burden on public enterprises. Because of mismanagement now, some parastators were carrying heavy debt burdens of unpaid salaries, disappearing pensions and suppliers, etc. There were a lot of difficulties in a bid to privatize such enterprise, as investors had not shown much interest in them, because you want to invest in a business that is owing, that is laden with heavy debts, unpaid salaries, pensioners were not paid, suppliers were not paid, people were not interested in investors that find it difficult to invest in such companies. So government had been reluctant in assuming the debt burdens of these organizations, because there was inadequate planning. It actually affected the implementation of privatization and commercialization. And this has resulted in stalemate. We have another one is opposition to the policy. The certain persons who benefited immensely from the inefficient management of some public enterprises, they expressed their opposition to privatization and commercialization in Nigeria. The argument against the policy has been that it will lead to loss of jobs, loss of control, increase in prices, because once it's a private thing, the prices will no longer be as government thing, public thing, because public considers the poor, but private is interested in making profit and is giving you the services. So we found out that there was this opposition from those who were benefiting from this public from the initial program. So they were reluctant to change, and they had to, impose a kind of. It was difficult for them actually. The argument, the difficult for they were actually expressing their opposition to privatization and the commercialization, and they refused to key in to, or they were adamant. No, they didn't refuse, but they were that there was not enough commitment on the part of such people, and such opposition caused the implementation of the policy to slacken as it erodes the necessary political base. And the sale of shares to the rich only. This has to do with the policy's credibility in relation to fairness, equity, and justice. It has been alleged that the poor were left out in the exercise, and they could not afford to subscribe to the shares without government empowering them. So some also argue that privatization will only succeed in transferring the ownership of privatized enterprises from government to the very rich. They will have also inadequate publicity, which affected was actually felt in every nook and cranny of the country. Publicity on the exercise has been limited to the cities, and then all these are some of the problems that have confronted the programs of privatization and then commercialization since inception. What are the identified solutions to the problems of privatization and commercialization programs in Nigeria? Some of the solutions to ensure a successful and speedy completion of privatization, we have to adopt the following solutions. One, and the program has gone midstream, and it will therefore be unwise to stop or slacken it. So government should display what we call a high level of commitment in the implementation of the privatization and commercialization program. It is no longer a new program. It has gone halfway. So as this suggestion, that government should do what? Display a high level of commitment. And they should be prepared to buy up the debts of those enterprises that are burdened or laden with heavy debts. Because these debts were incurred by those employed by government. So the government should regard itself, because you inherit assets and their liabilities. They should be liable for these debts and then incur them, so that investors can be attracted into these companies. And then poor Nigerians may be empowered too through financial institutions to purchase shares in privatized enterprises. And how do we empower them? Government should empower them by providing soft loans to such people. More Nigerians will be assisted to taking part and benefiting from the exercise. Shares purchased may be held by the financial institutions as collateral. Then we need adequate publicity also to undertake the measure to make the average Nigerian understand the policy of privatization and commercialization, and let them know that it is important. It's not, we are not selling away our companies completely, but it's for you to run efficiently and effectively and to provide the services that people need. Self-assessment exercise. In what way do you think the degree of commitment to a program by the government can affect the implementation of such a program? Conclusion. Well-intentioned policies and programs of government often run into problems. Sometimes unintended consequences of policy will surface. Privatization and commercialization program of government had its own share of some problems, which we have examined in this unit. Summary. In this unit, we have examined the problems confronting and inhibiting effective implementation of privatization and commercialization programs in Nigeria. We also discussed the suggested solutions to the identified problems. References. Unit 4, Public-Private Partnership, PPP. Here we are going to look at the introduction, the objectives, the main content. PPP, what is the meaning of PPP? The forms, advantages, disadvantages of PPP, conclusion, summary, total market assessment, references to further readings. In the previous section, we said the government could divert their business into the privatization, transferring their enterprises to private sectors to manage for effectiveness and efficiency in service delivery. Government could also partner with private sector to provide services to the citizens. And when government partners with private sectors to provide services, it is referred to as public-private partnership. This one may take many forms, though learning about PPP, the variety of forms it can take, the advantages and disadvantages is what this unit is all about. So at the end of this unit, we should be able to define PPP, examine various forms of PPP, and discuss the advantages of public-private partnership and their disadvantages. What is PPP? PPP is a legal binding contract between government and business for the provision of assets and delivery of services that allocates responsibilities and business risk among the various partners. PPP combines the resources of government with those of private agents in order to deliver services to the citizens. PPP may take a variety of forms with varying degrees of public and private sector involvement and varying levels of public and private sector risk. The main goal is to combine the best capabilities of the public and private sectors for mutual benefits. Forms of PPP. We have various forms. We have public leverage. We have contracting out. Public leverage occurs where government use their legal and financial resources to create conditions that they believe will be conducive to economic activity and business growth. Contracting out involves you separate the potential of a service from the provider. Government concentrates on the former, defining what services are to be available and to what standard, and then contract out the provision to a business or not-for-profit organization. We also have the franchising. Franchising involves government awarding a license to a business not-for-profit to deliver a public service in which the provider's income is in the form of users' fees. The license may require the private agent to develop infrastructure, in which case it will normally transfer to public ownership at term. We have the joint ventures. Here it occurs where two or more parties wish to engage on a collaborative project in a way that retains their independence. Joint ventures enable the coordination of important decisions by independent actors in respect of a project that is close-ended in terms of its scope and the commitment of a partner's resources. Costs, the advantage of public-private partnership. Cost saving. How does it save costs? Here, cost saving materialize in several different forms, but are mainly due to the private sector's role as a mutual partner in the project. The private sector is partnering with the public sector. So the private partners' fundamental drive now is for economic gain yields, and this is an incentive to continually improve its performance because they are there for economic gain yields, and it helps them to continue to improve their performance. So if you are in business to make profit, you have to watch and check many things. You have to cut overall project costs for you to make profit. So you have to look for the least cost, getting the product at the least cost, available product at the least cost, and then making gains from it, and at the same time satisfying the citizens. So by so the fact that because they have partnered with the private sector and their drive is for economic gain yields, the incentive now is for them to improve their performance, and once this is done, it helps to reduce project costs. Then the whole of life cycle. The PPP combine two or more of the project phases in a single bundle for the private sector to deliver over the long term. It creates economies of scale by motivating the private sector to organize its activities in a way that drives efficiencies and maximizes returns on investments. Another advantage is our base contracts. The PPP projects typically adopt an output-focused contract which links payment to performance. So the payment is linked to performance. These specified projects result in terms of the quality delivered rather than how assets or services are provided. What is the quality? Here emphasis is on outputs, and this encourages innovation to take place by motivating the private partner to develop new methods and for project delivery that meets requirements at lower cost. Risk sharing. PPP is designed so that risk is transferred between the public and private sectors, allocating particular project risk to the partner best able to manage that risk cost effectively. PPP delivers on time. Why? Because with financing risk routinely transferred to the private consortium, any delays in meetings the agreed upon timelines can lead to additional cost for the private partner, as it alone carries the debt for a longer period of time. Therefore, the private sector has a direct financial interest in ensuring that products and services are delivered on time, if not even sooner than we expected, because they want to make their profit. So they have to satisfy you so that they can make their gains. Again, it enhances public management. By inviting the public partner in, the public authority can transfer risk and responsibilities over the day-to-day operations of two or more phases of the urban infrastructural project to the private consortium. This frees the public sector to focus on other important policy issues such as regulating performance, monitoring, and urban service planning. It also improved levels of service. By bringing together the strength from the public combining with the private, there has this unique ability to share a diverse range of resources, technologies, ideas, and skills in a cooperative manner that can work to improve how urban infrastructure, assets, and services are delivered to the people. Increased availability of infrastructure funds. PPP frees up funding for other urban infrastructural projects in two ways. First, through potential cost savings inherent in the PPP approach, and second, through access to private financing, which commits the government to spread payments for services rendered over a longer period of time. Seeing that it is the private partner who typically absorbs the financing risk, the public authority is not obliged to record the investment upfront as part of its bottom line surplus or deficit for that fiscal year. This allows the transaction to remain off balance sheet, meaning the government can borrow money for other important projects without affecting calculations of the measures of its indebtedness. It also increases availability of infrastructural fund. Still on that, investment decisions under PPP contracts tend to be based on a long-term view rather than short-term concerns. Risk and work are transferred to the party which is best able to manage it at the least cost, achieving the best value. Projects go through a competitive pricing process, meaning that the cost of public service is benchmarked against market standard. Determines that the costing tend to be more certain and therefore deliver better values for money. Where PP is not completed to budget, the private sector usually bears the cost. Then the cross transfer of public and private sector skills, knowledge, and expertise can create innovation and efficiency. Private sector often brings with it greater construction capacity, and as a private man, labor capacity and resources that would be available to the public sector. Abatement to the private sector PPP projects are usually linked to how they perform. So you pay the private sector on performance, quality and performance, and this creates incentives and efficiency. Again, PPP projects are not subject to political interference. There's nothing like politics and the fair payments for the government. No, it is purely public-private partnership. So and private plays a major role in PPP. What are the disadvantages of PPP? One, PPP represents good opportunities to lower overall project cost. But when you compare it to traditional procurement, the complete PPP process invites additional costs that, if not managed properly, can erode some of the potential economic benefits of this model. So one of these potential cost drivers is identified in the tender process. That is a competitive approach to choosing a project partner unique to the PPP procurement model. Parties bidding for a project expend considerable skills and resources in designing and evaluating the project prior to implementation. So depending on the number of project bidders, costs can add up as all participating bids tend to be factored into the overall cost of the project. Secondly, the long-term and inclusive nature of a PPP contract requires that each partner spend considerable time and resources on outside experts to help anticipate and oversee all possible future contingencies. This can be very costly, particularly for a public agency inexperienced with the private sector and requires additional help to protect the public interest. And finally, while the private financing element of the partnership is one of the most important incentive drivers for the private partner, the price of financing can result in higher capital costs ranging between 1% and 3%, or less cost servicing generated by private consortium outweigh the added cost of private loan financing. A PP project may not deliver cost saving, reduce control of public assets. In view of the fact that the private sector absorbs a significant portion of the project risk, still, important decisions over outcomes are inadvertently shared with that partner. So accordingly, this can result in the loss of public control over important decisions concerning a range of public issues, from how basic public goods such as housing and clean water should be delivered and priced, through to on-site labor issues around job pay and security. For example, what we're experiencing today with EEDC, which is public-private, EEDC, electricity distribution, we are having problem. So, and that is the reduced control, because government now, they don't have that their control has been not seriously reduced, but the control of government over power has been reduced by PP, that is this partnership with the private sector, which is that's the distribution power. Mitigating risk. The more complex the urban project and the more people involved, the higher and more varied the risk becomes. If a PPP, though PPP we know is a well carefully structured, and so though a carefully structured PPP manages risk through a well-defined contractual agreement, some risk is unforeseen and therefore difficult to mitigate. You may not see all the risk. You may encounter some along the line, so you find it difficult to mitigate it. So in the case of such unexpected risk, oftentimes it is the public authority that is left to not only pay for the value of the risk, but also the emerging costs. Rigidities in long-term contracts. A key concern with the long-term committal nature of PPP procurement is that it limits the public sector's ability to make changes to the contract if unexpected economic or situational challenges arise. If there is a change, in case a change is required, either to the use of an infrastructure asset or to type of urban service offered, PPP has proven to be inflexible in such a situation, both in terms of the time and administrative burden associated with altering the contract. Self-assessment exercise. Explain PPP. Mention various forms of public-private partnership. Conclusion. Government can cooperate with the private sector in many ways to provide services to the citizenry. Governments all over are making use of the private sector to design, manage and deliver public goods. While public-private partnership has its benefits, it also has some major disadvantages. In this unit, we are examining what public-private partnership connotes, to identify some forms of public-private partnership arrangements. This will also discuss the major advantages and results of PPP. Tutor month assignment. Discuss the major advantages of public-private partnership. Explain ways by which public-private partnership can be a risky venture. References.